Yeah. Angie Ween. I don't know who she is. I think she's communications stuff for Microsoft.
Oh,
And I think she works from her home. She's been all over the country or the world. So she hasn't been here. She just moved back to Longview probably about the time the pandemic started. So I don't know. We'll see.
well, I don't have a Challenger this time around, so
Well, good.
I didn't last time either. So I've been, I guess that's fortunate. I don't know.
Yeah. I've never had a free ride. That'd be so nice just not have to do everything it entails to be reelected.
A lot of work. Yeah. I had kind of expected to see more Challengers in some like fire district races and stuff. I know we advertised for our open position to appoint for our open position. We had quite a number of people apply. So I thought we would have maybe more people running.
Sure.
But Bill Hallinger has an opponent, but
oh yeah,
Marissa Hutchison and myself do not. So
well, good for you. That's good. Oh, Bill, I known him since we used to lease property from International Paper, and at one point of his career, he was over control of their lands or something.
Yeah,
he was he can be a knucklehead.
I gotta say he has mellowed. We used to bet heads a lot.
Has he?
Now he's a much gentler, kinder Bill. So
yeah, well, good. After we ended up buying the property when New York came out and started selling all the land, so we bought where we were out there, the Outer Pond, and after that he was okay, but he didn't have a hammer over our head.
Yeah. Well, he still has his opinion, Sometimes it agrees with everybody else, and sometimes it doesn't. But
yeah, I like him.
Oh yeah.
I probably got traits that people don't like about me too. So I hope they're forgiving.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Alan, how are you?
Doing good.
Hi, Scott.
Oh, the man, the myth, the legend. How are you doing?
How are you doing in your
Good,
new
Chad.
job? Yeah,
Good. Lots of moving pieces, but good.
I didn't realize.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
Have you been out to breakfast with the boys lately?
Lunch.
Lunch?
She's not serving breakfast yet. She doesn't want to get all that inventory in and then get shut down again.
Oh, yeah.
I guess. So we're going to meet at lunch today. Well, today on Wednesday, so I may bail out of here a little bit early.
Make sure you give Hoyer a bad time.
Oh, I will. Yes, sir, I will. I always do.
Just make sure he knows it's for me, okay?
Oh, I will. I'll really make sure. So yeah, no, that's a fun thing to do. So yeah.
Rachel, does it look like we're going to have a quorum here?
Does it? Okay. We do have a quorum, but I do not see my executive director on here quite yet.
Okay, we'll give him. It's not quite 10 o'clock by my. He's got a minute or two here, so.
I'll be filling in for Brad today.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And Alan, you know about the agenda updates.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Um,
Are you going to do those?
yeah, we'll talk about it here. David put number 9, I think it's number 8. My Zoom stuff though.
Good morning, sir.
Alan, just a heads up, it's sort of like if the way to modify the agenda is to propose it and then to take a vote on it.
Right.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Yeah, I'm just I just lost my little thing where I can see people. So is Dave on yet, or?
I'm on.
He is.
You're on, okay. For some reason I have turned off my little panel where I can see people. So anyway, I guess since we have a quorum and our director's here, and our chair is not able to make it, so I will call the meeting to order. We have an approval of the agenda. It's been suggested that we move number 8, I guess it is, approval of position descriptions down after an executive session that we're going to have.
It was number 9.
Well, maybe mine says number 8 on here, so maybe we've got a different version. I don't know. Mine has number 9 as the board comments and committee reports, and number 8 is the position descriptions. Is mine not quite up to date?
That's not.
Okay. So anyway, the intent is to move the approval of position descriptions, whatever the number is, after the executive session, if that's meets the approval of the board.
I would move that we do that.
Got you second.
I'm not sure, Scott, you're an alternate for us now, are you?
Right, correct. I cannot second.
Yeah.
If I can help out, it's the MOU defining the anniversary accrual rates. That's the one that's getting moved after the executive session.
Okay, I don't have that on my agenda, so.
That would be my motion to move that.
And I'll second that motion.
Good morning, Andy.
Motion and a second to move the MOU then to after the executive session. Okay.
So Alan, to be clear, so number 8 on mine is approval of position descriptions. That's staying there. But number 9 is the motion to move the MOU defining anniversary accrual rates.
Right.
To after the executive session.
Correct.
That's correct.
All right.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Hearing none. Agenda is approved. We'll move on to meeting minutes. Assuming everybody's had a chance to peruse those.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve, and it was second. Any further discussion on those? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Understood. So with that said.
Pardon me, I didn't catch that last. maybe that wasn't directly to this. Anyway, opposed on that? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Public comment. Rachel, do we have any public?
I do not see anything in the chat.
Okay,
And Alan,
yes,
we do have Susan Ronning on the line. She's the CEO with AdCom that
Okay.
is heading our relocation, the technical transition. And there'll be a piece where she may provide answers if you guys have questions.
right. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to payables. Any discussion there? No questions or anything? Everything looked okay. I didn't see anything unusual in that. So do we have a motion to approve our payables?
So
Motion
moved.
to-
Sorry.
Second.
Okay, so Chet moved, Andy seconded. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And let's see, this is a meeting for our financial report. How are we doing?
We are right on track. You guys won't see in this financial report, but you'll see it in next month, all of the transfers to our reserves, because this covers April and we didn't make that decision until May. But I've started all of those transfers through May, so you guys will see all of those being funded on the next one. And other than that, when you look through anything that's kind of below the 67% in the expenditures is because we've paid something beforehand that we just didn't have the 12 months of time. So it looks like should be 67%, but we've made almost all of our expenditures already for the year. So.
Okay. Any questions for Rachel? Okay. Well, let's move on to our high-level overview of relocation project.
Okay, I had Rachel add this to this week's agenda because June 9th, we will ask that the board approve the relocation phases 2 through 5 so that we can start procuring equipment. There's, as you know, a lot of delays with pretty much any kind of equipment, but a lot with technologies where there's lengthy delays. I don't know if you guys had a chance to go over this at all. Basically, it just kind of gives you a pretty, it is a draft. We might have a couple changes on the next one. I'll tell you that right now. They shouldn't be substantial, but this kind of gives you an idea of the project approach, what is included in the different phases. Phase 1 was discovery. So back in, we contracted with AdCom and team around September. And in December, November, December, while Bob Gregory was here, we provided a draft, basically projection of what the cost would be. For
You got that? Okay. Thanks.
So now that we've made it through the discovery stage, we really have a better idea of what it entails. We also picked up a few things that we hadn't initially planned on taking care of at the comm center, which was the entire Spillman servers, the primary, the backup, the high availability, So that has been included in the plan, and in addition, the relocation of our backup site from the admin building over here to the Hall of Justice. So I asked AdCom to also include, it's an estimate, but kind of a projection of what the operational costs would be for, years to come. So that's also included in this budget as well. There's also some subcontracting that we'll need to do for installation of some of the equipment, and we've included that as well. So from my documents previously, there's a difference of about 185,000 increase of things that, we didn't know about or that have changed. Overall, with the ongoing costs included in that, which we didn't previously include that, that's another almost $200,000 for operations of the system.
Okay.
I am working with AdCom right now on an amendment to their contract. I spoke with Frank yesterday. I think the document's pretty close to prepared as far as that scope of work, which would include basically what you're reading here, maybe with a little bit more detail, and we'll attach that to their current contract that we have with them. The original contract talked about phases 2 to 5, but there was no amount because we didn't know what it would be because we hadn't done the discovery yet. Any questions?
I have a couple. One, the operations costs, are we talking about comm center operation costs? And
Yeah,
wouldn't that be normal? Wouldn't that be a normal budget piece anyway for us?
it would. It would be a normal budget piece, but I wanted the board to have an idea of, I know that you're putting the budget team or committee together, and that you'd have a number to kind of plug in there when you
Mhm.
look at that budgeting. Because there are costs that we didn't have before, such as, supporting a network. It's a really great design that they're putting together, so it will be easier to manage than probably what, the county's dealing with today with a public safety network. There'll be a lot of ability to do remote monitoring and, diagnostic things. So before something breaks, you already know that it needs to be looked at because it's not running the way it should be. So we don't have to wait for failures to fix it.
So,
Kind of like a check engine light on your car?
Right.
so Alan, this is Kurt. I have a question. This is such a large contract with obviously many pieces and many that perhaps we're not all that conversant in. Can we get a little bit of an update again on AdCom's experience with regard to these types of projects, transitions, where we, maybe if they have experience and they could share with us of moving a system over from one location to another, and just a little bit more about some of their, references and such with regard to a project like this?
Absolutely, Kurt. I asked Susan to join us in case there were, some questions that I wouldn't be able to answer. And this is probably a perfect one for me to introduce Susan Ronning, and she's the principal at AdCom. She's working with 2 other subcontractors. One's local, More Power Technologies, and the other one is CBE, who that is their specialty is network design. So Susan, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for letting me come in. So Kurt, yes, I'm Susan Ronning. I took over AdCom engineering last year. AdCom's been in business for over 40 years, but our specialty is public safety communications networks. So many 911 center designs and implementations and relocations from one location to another, and lots of radio system experience as well for all the technologies that go out into the field that support, fire, police, EMS services, is really our specialty. So that's where we work really well. But all of these systems that we deal with, everything in terms of telecommunications and technology systems, we never get a chance to build it from the ground up. We have to kind of insert and upgrade pieces along the way. And so this has actually been a really fabulous project to work on, because you are able to build a network from the ground up with this new facility. And so it's going to be a stellar project. And I want to say it's going to be something that you're going to be able to showcase to other agencies, just because the way that the network design is, it's going to be maintainable going forward, and it's going to be very resilient. So, with not a lot of extra pieces, it's very the way that the architecture is set up. And it's also going to be very cybersecurity focused, right? So you're not going to worry about hackers, things like that. So the system is definitely a stellar design for what we see it's going to be. By doing that and being able to move across, there's going to be some pieces of the network that are brand new, and there's going to be other pieces that are going to be moving, right, from your existing center to the other. And so we're taking into detailed account as to what needs to happen, how it needs to happen, make sure that we don't have any downtime on the network, and on the radio systems and the long recorders and all the various types of systems that you have. And so we're going to take it on a piece by piece basis, do testing as much as possible before you actually cut anything officially across, and then switch it. But as a company, we've done it many, many times, and it's our core business to work with 911 centers and public safety agencies. That helps.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Susan. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Deanna, or maybe Susan, I don't know this question. I see in there that basically our current CAD system will just remain at the hall and not be used at all on the new facility. Are we going to be completely trained up on our new system for our dispatchers and things to be able to do that? Or do we need to have some sort of contingency in case we're not?
Okay, so first, not our feedback. Our old system, we will have to quasi keep that running, or at least archive all of that material where it's accessible for retention purposes and, for public disclosures and retention. Right now, Cresa maintains that, so we'll have to work out some kind of extended agreement with them, to support that for a while, or, train somebody up on it so that we can access that old data. The new system, we're working with Spillman.
Right.
And I actually have Chris Liker, who's part of Susan's team, attending those Spillman meetings, which is not part of AdCom's scope of work. It's the Spillman project, but I knew that they kind of overlap. And so I wanted somebody from that technical team there in case things come up during the Spillman piece, which they have, that, have to be addressed by this relocation team. As far as the training goes, we have training scheduled, different types of training with Spillman. I think it starts in September or October. There's some Spillman admin training and I don't know, different types of training. And then the user training starts in January. Do you remember, Dave, when they scheduled the dispatchers?
I think
Is it in
we're right
March?
around, we're like the last almost.
Yeah.
Which is the end of February, early March. We're right after fire and police.
And kind of the good thing, I think, with Spillman, transitioning to Spillman, is that our dispatchers are already familiar with the RMS side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it'll be a much easier transition than PRC to Intergraph. PRC was, DOS based, everything was commands and it was just different. And Intergraph was Windows-based and Spillman's gonna be Windows-based. And they're familiar with the RMS side of that, so I think it's gonna be okay.
And just to tag on to that, I mean, our plan is to have the center up once we're able to move into the building, to move as many pieces as we can across without impacting the current operations, letting the users come and take a look at it. And if there's any last minute training, we can do it at the facility, make sure everything's up and running before they officially cut everything across. So we're going to do this in stages. So they will have a final chance to make sure that everything's ready to go before we do the final move for all the users.
So the building construction piece and this piece should marry nicely together then?
That is our plan.
Yeah, yeah, that's our plan.
Well, we believe the building's going to be done by the end of this year, and
Right.
we will include all the equipment and all that sort of stuff, and hopefully be up somewhere around March of 2022. That's our plan right now.
And if we're taking possession of the building, let's just say, you know, they get their checkoff sheet all done and fixed all of the blue tape, and it's, you know, mid-January, we can start moving equipment and, you know, setting up network and servers and that kind of stuff, because we can't set up Spillman until we have the building. So that is really where the training is going to happen, when it's hands-on stuff.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, well, we hope that that all comes together the way it's planned.
We are confident.
Yeah, we're planning on it. So it's definitely going to come together.
Failure is not an option with this, Alan. This is the
Well, I
biggest
know.
project this comm center's ever had.
Yeah, it is, at least in any of our memories.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other questions for Deanna or Susan? Okay.
So
Thank you.
I just want to end with, be prepared in your June 4th packet. We'll have the final document, we'll have the extension to their contract. And then probably in July, I'm going to start talking to you about contracting, going out for bid for the IT support once we are actually close to, you know, that going live piece of that, because you're going to need someone to support your network and your phone systems and your, you know, CAD stuff, your technology.
And at this point in time, it's probably better to contract as opposed to developing an in-house position.
I mean, I would recommend that because you're going to have more depth. And I mean, you could hire a team of people. I don't know if that's really cost effective for the size of the organization. And you have two good things, I think, with contracting. One, you have more leverage because they're a contractor. And two, you're going to have more depth, where if you hire people internally, you're going to need a network person. You're going to need, you know, IT support. You're going to need phone support, people with different skill sets. And if you're contracting that, that contractor is going to be able to provide all of those services at a lower cost.
Hopefully. That's okay. Thank you. All right. Well, moving on. So number 8 is approval of position descriptions.
Yes, we've got 2 descriptions or position descriptions to approve. Number 1, we've written the position descriptions for Cowlitz 911 Administrative Assistant / Public Records Coordinator. That was for documentation purposes. And for the Cowlitz 911 Night Shift Dispatch Supervisor, in order to advertise for the vacancy and fill the position. So you got those in your packet, and I recommend to approve both those job descriptions as presented.
Okay. I hopefully in our new building that we won't have to use that, having office spaces without windows for both of those. But anyway, anybody have any discussion or input on these from the board?
Is the night shift dispatch supervisor, I just saw it says union affiliated, is a no? Are they not in the same guild with the other dispatchers?
The supervisor is an at-will position, not in a union.
Okay.
And although it's primarily listed as a night watch supervisor, there's language in there that they can come in on day watch to fill in for the day watch person or to do training. So it's a little bit fluid, but primarily it's so that somebody will be here during the night shift.
So, Alan, I had a question as well.
Okay.
With regard to that, David, I mean, is there a difference between a night shift supervisor and a day shift? I guess, why aren't they just shift supervisors? And one could cover for the other.
Well, I tried to put language in there so that they could cover back and forth. But as I've learned around here, it's a little more difficult to have the night watch covered, during, well, it's just more difficult to cover the night shift. And we wanted to put it in the job description so that they understood what they were getting into. That's what we were trying to do. But yes, they are interchangeable. They can go back and forth. There's language in there for being on day watch also.
Okay. So is the compensation the same for both positions?
Yes.
Okay. Do we currently have a night shift supervisor?
We have a vacancy. We have one supervisor at the comm center who works the night shift on occasion when things when he needs to go and handle personnel matters, when the system breaks down in the middle of the night, he'll show up in the middle of the night. So the day watch supervisor is Jerry Jensen.
Right.
He does work on night shifts on occasion. We're trying to get a permanent person on night shift so that they actually have somebody here most of the time. That's what we're trying to do.
Sure.
And there is a vacancy right now.
Okay, so this position, we did have a night shift supervisor at one point.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're just trying to bring that person back. Okay.
It's not a new position. It's
Right.
Just clarification of what the position is.
This person's going to work in tandem with the day watch supervisor. They're going to overlap at some point so that they can discuss issues that are going on in both watches. And the day watch supervisor does come in on occasion when needed, and we anticipate that the night watch supervisor would come to days when needed also.
Yeah, and I think if that's clear, that sounds good to me. I don't have any questions on that. And then on the administrative assistant public records coordinator, I have just a couple of questions or comments. On the minimum qualifications for that position, we say possesses an associate's or bachelor's degree in business administration or similar. That seems a little strange to me to be a minimum qualification, because there's, actually quite a bit of difference between an associate's or a bachelor's. And it seems to me it would be one or the other. You could say something along the line of an associate's being the minimum qualifications with a bachelor's preferred. But when we say that they're both the minimum, or one or the other, I think it kind of leaves it open to, someone's question if during the hire process, let's just say, you take one over the other.
That, my HR tells me that we can adjust that as you're describing.
Okay, I think that would help clarify it with regard to at least what the minimum qualifications are. And then the other, and I just want to share this, for you, because again, public records officers are very, becoming much more in demand and very, kind of an intricate skill set. And one of the things that, I guess I would maybe recommend under knowledge, skills, and abilities is that we make mention, at least, desired, if not required, that they have public records administrative experience or training, and the ability to obtain the what they call WAPRO, Washington Associations of Public Records Officers certification, within a time frame. And that might be a year or even 18 months or 2 years. But I think at a minimum, because the regulations in that environment change rapidly, and they're ongoing. And we have 3 here in the city, and all of them will tell you that it's really important to, stay on top of these continually changing rules and guidelines, because these are the ones that, if you don't respond to in a timely fashion, will come back and bite you in terms of responding to some of these public records requests that many of us get inundated with.
We certainly concur with that, and our current person in that position is going to trainings, so we can adjust that position to concur with the things that you had just mentioned.
Okay, those were my only comments. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Are there enough changes in this one? Do we need to hold it over, or is the board comfortable in approving that with the suggested edits by Kurt?
We certainly can put the suggested edits in for the administrative assistant / record, public record person. The night shift supervisor, we'd like to have that approved so that we can go and advertise for that one. So if you approve both of them, we will adjust the as was recommended.
Okay, what's the feeling of the board?
I'd make a motion to approve the positions with the recommended changes.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion, a second, to approve both of the position descriptions with the recommended changes to the administrative assistant public records coordinator. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Number 9, we've moved down for the executive session, so we'll move to board comments, committee reports, law TAC or fire TAC updates. Do we have anything new to report there?
This is Troy. For the LAWTAC, we meet again in July. We did have our 911 liaison meeting. Dave Handy and I met with Shelley Reeves. discuss some different potential protocol changes for notifications. We'll be working to do some ride-alongs with dispatchers, and when we have training where we're doing large-scale training stuff, including a dispatcher in those trainings, so they get that experience as well.
Okay. Any questions there? How about fire tap? Do they have a meeting, another meeting?
I don't have an update, Alan. I don't know if Bill has anything or not.
Yeah, they haven't met since the last meeting.
Okay. Hopefully they're moving forward though with the needed objectives for particularly for our new system. So anyway, looks like we're to director's report.
All right, so we're going to go into a staffing update. I've been notified that one of our dispatchers will leave employment with Cowlitz 911 to leave the state later in June. We also did fully qualify a trainee. So this places our staffing within the next month at 17 dispatchers and 2 trainees. With the approval of the night watch supervisor advertisement, we anticipate that we will have a promotion of a dispatcher to supervisor, and that's going to leave our staffing at 16 dispatchers and 2 trainees. The total going into the summer is going to have 5 vacancies for dispatcher. Staffing levels are also affected by one of our dispatchers off on long-term illness, and one is off for a long-term injury right now. I had indicated that I would propose a hiring plan at this meeting, and it's a long-term statistic that Cowlitz 911 loses about 2.5 dispatchers per year, and the probationary failure rate for new employees is above 50% for the last few years also. This attrition requires what I consider a bold plan to stay ahead of the vacancies. So I'm proposing to temporarily hire 8 probationary dispatchers for the 5 vacancies and place them in a dispatcher academy school that will start July 26, 2021, and continue to the state training at telecommunicator school 1 and 2. Both of those happen to be hosted by Cowlitz 911. This will prepare our center to stay ahead of the anticipated attrition and statistical failure rate. It will also save Cowlitz 911 on travel expenses since the schools will be held locally. This is an investment in the future, and if the 8 dispatchers do happen to complete the 8 to 12 month training, they will be used to fill the anticipated retirement vacancies in the next 2 years. So we've been understaffed for most of the past 5 years, and I believe that this bold plan will address the vacancies head on. So I know that I've talked with many of the board members as I've gone around the past couple of months, having meetings with each one of you. And so I recommend to approve the temporary overhiring of 8 probationary dispatchers to ensure that the 5 vacancies are filled and anticipated retirements are addressed. Any questions on that staffing plan?
Well, it sounds like it's a positive move to me. I would certainly support that.
I guess it's not likely, but is there a selection process you'd have in the event that you have more people make it through than you have vacancies for?
Yeah, that's what I was, and we're anticipating a few retirements after the new center opens. The normal training time for somebody that has not been a dispatcher is between 10 and 12 months. If we do happen to get lucky and get some dispatchers from other agencies, we can fast forward them usually 3 months through the training. But for most of the people that we get, we spend about 12 months training them. So within 12 months, we're going to be in the summer of next year. And we do anticipate that there are some retirements on the horizon. So if we do get lucky and all 8 of them make it, they will quickly take spots of people that will be retiring.
Okay.
What kind of a hit does this do to the budget?
We've underhired for the last 5 years dramatically, and we do have 5 vacancies at the moment. So this is just a temporary budget hit for personnel that we've saved in the past 5 years with being understaffed. So temporarily,
I can add a little piece for you.
if Deanna can say one thing about the statistics and that sort of thing.
Andy, another part of that is with all these vacancies, they pay overtime. And it's been a couple of years, but when I figured it out last, it was like 25 cents an hour, less to pay overtime than to actually fill that vacancy. But the wear and tear that it does on all of your staff and the morale is horrific. So it balances itself out. Either you're going to pay it in overtime or you're going to train these folks up. And the new people's salary is so much lower than your senior staff that's here at paying them at an overtime rate of pay that I would not anticipate, or I'm 99.9% sure it's going to be a no issue and it's going to be a positive thing. 50%, or as Dave said now, is even higher than 50%, aren't even making it through the training. So if you hired 8, you can count on probably 4 of those for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I have one follow-up question as well, and maybe it kind of piggybacks on where Troy was going, but people's lives change, circumstances change, and to say that we have individuals on the ropes 2.5 years out looking to retire, that can change, and certainly I can appreciate the staffing issue we've had. I support the overhiring. I'm a little nervous about the number. I'll admit that, in the sense that, again, the question is, what happens if these are all shining stars? They all do well, which is what we hope. They get through the training, and now we don't have openings that are coming up because of retirements. We certainly, wouldn't carry, I would hope not, 8 when we only need 5 at the end of the day. And so are there provisions within the contracts that speak to that issue?
You do have part-time positions that you'd like to open and haven't.
This is Jerry. I'd like to speak to that just in a small piece. I have a little bit of angst about the number as well, but it's just in the process of getting those people trained up. It's a difficult process to balance that many at once. But I can also say for 26 years, we've never hit, one time in 26 years, we've hit our number. So I'm not fearful of the number that we're projecting to hire, getting us into that. You're certainly right. It could happen. We could end up with 8 people that are stars and, will lead us into the future. We're just at a point where dispatchers have difficulty taking time off. I know one of our senior folks that's out on medical leave right now is at some point going to have to ask for, because she is out on medical, she's not able to take her vacation, and so her vacation bank is completely beyond the number that we allow her to carry. So some of those things will iron themselves out, I think, in time. the likelihood of getting everyone through. I mean, we hire good people, but good people don't necessarily always make good dispatchers. And so it's a real finite skill set that we're looking for and trying to get the best people through. And while it's a bold move, I just don't see another way for us to ever pull ourselves out of the staffing. I mean, we're one call in away from a staffing crisis for 26 years. And so I just feel like it's a real strong move to help the mental health of the staff and the folks that are in the trenches. So from my perspective, I feel confident that it's a good move and it's a right number. But it is a little concerning to me just because I got to figure out a way to balance the training of all of these folks and getting them still providing the services that we need to provide, but get these folks trained up. So it is a challenge, but I think it's a wise move and a right number, if that helps at all.
And we were talking about statistical, how many dispatchers that we've lost over time. And statistically, we do lose 2.5 experienced dispatchers every year for a number of different reasons. So, I did use statistics plus the failure rate to anticipate that we believe that 8 is the right number to get what we need. And if we do happen to get these shining stars that we're talking about, I do know that there are several dispatchers that are right around the corner from retiring. So this is just a temporary overhiring, and that's what that was all about.
I think there
go
might
ahead.
be, sorry, Kurt,
No, go ahead.
a couple other things to consider is that there's an opportunity for people to do part-time positions here that are seasoned dispatchers, but we've never been able to allow it because it would decrease our staff by another person. And so if you did end up with 8 shining stars, they all made it, nobody retired, and you're like, okay, now we have 3 extra spots. I know that we currently have at least 2 people that would love to go part-time and job share. And the other thing is personally, I think that you're understaffed in your supervisor level. You're, having just 2 supervisors, you can't cover a 24/7, 365 operation and have, an OIC in charge. So maybe that gives you an opportunity to do another promotion in a year from now and do a 3rd supervisor.
One thought I had, Dave, is what's the probation period for your new hires? How long is that?
So they're on probation while they're being trained. So it goes on for a year.
Or 6 months
6
past to the time they get signed off, whichever's
6
longer.
months after they get signed off. So there are people that have been signed off within 3 or 4 months, and then they're still on probation for
At least a year.
the 6 months after that. So
I mean, that would be the easy way to release them if they're still on probation. You don't have to have cause. And we know this is an unlikely scenario. It's just that it's always good to plan ahead just in case. You could have the economy take a dump and everybody say, I'm not going to retire for a couple more years. So that's kind of, I think that's why we're kind of hitting at it now.
no, I understand that, and I think Jerry also hit that we've only met staffing once in the 26 years that he's been here. So statistically, I think that this is the right way to go.
Perhaps, and I know this makes it harder to motivate people to apply and things, but perhaps it would be best to be upfront, particularly with the overhire segment of that. I don't know how you would divide it, but let them know up front that this is an overhire situation, and there's a remote possibility that at the end of their training, there may not be a position open at that time, and they would have to be placed on a list or whatever.
Where the last. Sorry.
All right, we, HR can work on that terminology, certainly.
So,
Uh,
Alan, I'm sorry, Dan.
No, go ahead, Vic. I'm sorry.
So I'm tracking this correctly. Currently, we have 5 vacant positions, correct?
We will have 5 vacant positions as of June 26th when we lose that other dispatcher.
So we're talking about 5 vacant positions, and then if we happen to fill the night supervisor with 1 off the floor, then that would give us 6 floor
No,
positions open.
I've already included that anticipated promotion.
Okay,
That's
so
one of the 5.
so that's one of the 5. Okay, well, that's one thing I wanted to track clear on. But 5 vacant positions. We're spending a lot of money in overtime. Those vacant positions are already funded but not being utilized. So that's all correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we've struggled with this for years. And this is, in my mind, an out of the box way of dealing with it or thinking about it. I guess, like Troy brings up, or Kurt, I'm a little hesitant, Alan, on your language about upfront saying, hey, this is a potential overhire, because I think that would maybe make people not want to apply.
I know you'd have to be very careful in how you worded that.
Yeah, my thought is you kind of make it a conditional job offer pending successful completion of training. I think as a board member, I would rather have the problem of actually having only 5 spots and 8 people that make it through. I don't think we're going to get that, quite honestly. And I commend Deanna and Dave for coming up with this variation, because we've been asking for something different for years. So.
Hey, Kurt,
Yes.
I know the city of Longview with law enforcement positions have where they'll hire somebody and it's, through a grant or something. What terminology do they use with that? What do they tell that person when, it's grant funded?
Well, we what we do is obtain a commitment from council. And I think everybody pretty much understands when we hire an officer with a grant, while the funding may only last for 2 years, that we will sustain that position. It becomes a permanent position.
Okay, I thought you
For the
had
most part.
something.
But we have had overhires as well. And, there for a while when, we have a lot of turnover in officers, we allowed for that overhiring as well. But I'll admit, we did get to a point where, for a period of time there, we had the full staffing with the overhire, and it does have budgetary impacts, when that situation occurs. Over time, you're right, it works itself out. And, I'm not familiar enough with dispatching to know that, exactly how that would work. With officers, you can always use another officer on the street. But if you only have, 6 consoles and you have 7 dispatchers, that's a little different scenario. I support, this recommendation like Vic. We struggled for years, and it's not fair to the existing staff, and we need to correct the situation. I would ask that we be vigilant in keeping a watchful eye over it. And as we move forward, and I don't know if the right number is 8 or 7 or, 6, but whatever that is, that again, we keep a real watchful eye on it. And that we also be mindful of maybe laddering some of this. And maybe it kind of alludes to what, Troy was saying too, that, if people start washing out early in the training process and now you're down to 6 again, maybe you look at filling those, but again, continually watching to see, where the environment is with people off and maybe giving you their plans with regard to retirement.
Yeah, and I mean, I support the overhire plan. Don't get me wrong. I am all for getting people staffed up. It's just I encourage you guys to have, ahead of time, consider some language or how to broach that subject should that event happen.
And I think probably at the very least, we should really emphasize that this is a temporary overhire and these are not additional authorized positions by the board. So even if we were to maintain a person or two extra, that would, once that we got back to the original number, authorized number, that's where it stayed. We didn't fill again. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does make sense. And just so you know, staffing is always on the agenda. So you will know every 2 weeks for the next year where we are in the staffing plan. So you'll be well aware of how closely we're monitoring this.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on that? I would entertain a motion, one way or the other, I guess, in support of this position or this overhire for these extra positions.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve overhire. That would be 3 additional above the 5. And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Right, thank you. Very, very good investment in the future, I think. Now we're going to go to climate and culture. This is added to the agenda. As I've been making the rounds, I found that was important for you guys to understand what's going on in climate and culture here. So I will talk a little bit about the overtime. I've spent the past 4.5 months observing the current operation of the Cowlitz 911 Center, and I've determined that there are immediate needs with deployment. The wellness of the dispatchers is priority 1, and working with them with the mandated overtime to complete the minimum staffing is definitely not sustainable. And I believe that what you just passed is going to go very much toward the climate and culture here, because there is a frustration level from the dispatchers about the amount of overtime and being called in on their days off and that sort of thing. So thank you very much for that. Thus, that's what the proposed hiring plan was all about. I've also continued to meet with the Guild to help alleviate the mandated overtime through innovative deployment practices, and see what we can do working within the contract to see what we can do to mitigate that. That all comes to the mindset of the dispatchers that are here. So going to the good part of the climate and culture, the liaison program has given the dispatchers ownership in making the Cowlitz 911 Center receptive to the police and the fire stakeholders. I believe that many of the suggestions have come back, and we troubleshoot those suggestions, and there's a lot of ownership going on right now where everybody's feeling good that we are making the place better just through talking and relationships. There are many good things on the horizon. The new facility, the recognition of dispatcher achievements, and so that you know, the executive director and the supervision here, who are cheerleaders for the dispatchers and attempting to make the work environment safe from COVID. And those are some really great things that are happening right now. One recognition that I'd like to share is that dispatcher Bob Schaefer has been certified as an ENP, which is awarded by APCO and recognizes him as a person who can manage a 911 center. So that's for the good of the order. That's climate and culture.
I'm sorry, what's EMP stand for?
Emergency numbers professional.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
that's what they certify somebody that can manage a 911 center. That's a certification that is very difficult to get, and one of our dispatchers has it. All right. I hope that as I go along, I'll be able to share some of the climate and culture and let you know what's going on in the center, both things that are challenges and need to be worked on and things that are going good here. The facility update. The new facility has had the concrete poured on the lower slab, consisting of the underflooring of the dispatch floor, the supervisor's office, the training room, the equipment room, and the EOC. And the foundation is now taking shape. So the facility is on schedule. And as I report to you every 2 weeks, I am out there once a week talking with the construction personnel, and Norm is supervising that project for us. Any questions on the new facility right now? All right, moving on to radio infrastructure. So some of this will be a little bit repeating myself from the last 2 weeks, but I know that you want to hear that since the outages in April at the Hall of Justice and the Davis sites, we have been stable on the radio with all our fixes that were made by the vendor. The Kalama radio connection to the console system is in place, but it's currently disabled. A thorough testing that entails coordination of switches from the Rainier site and the Hall of Justice is scheduled for this Friday, and I'll be there for that testing. And the Hall of Justice, the backdated order on the replacement parts is currently scheduled for July 9th. And as I've said before, this is part of a nationwide shortage of parts, and that's what takes it so long to get the ordered replacement parts. The Castle Rock High Tower, we'll be working on the building and electrical permits, and the agreement has been sent to legal and our insurance vendor. The Woodland Tower, we're still awaiting for the FAA license for the new tower location, which is approximately 200 feet from where the last tower location was. The Baker's Corner, Longview City Council has a special meeting for Baker's Corner permit. It's on calendar for June the 8th. And that has to do with all our radio infrastructure. Are there questions on any of that?
Just on the Longview meeting, is that the public hearing, or is that just their normal? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's a public hearing.
And I'll have Mark Palins and Day Wireless on that meeting with us for the permitting.
Okay. Are those Zoom meetings?
Kurt, has anything changed? I'm assuming they're Zoom.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, we're still providing Zoom.
And do we get the link from your My Longview site? Is it on
yes.
there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, no more questions on the radio stuff. As always, the analytics are provided at the first meeting of the month, but so far this month looks like we're still over 95%. One last miscellaneous item that I needed to bring to your attention is that the Cowlitz 911 457B plan, which was reviewed with the plan administrator this past week. The next meeting, we will be discussing changing the trustee name to the generic title of the executive director. It's currently in the name of the past executive director. The action cannot be taken this meeting as we are awaiting information on professional liability insurance to protect the trustee and the board of directors as a whole. And we've asked for that information. It just didn't get back in time to discuss it today. So that concludes the director's report.
Okay, any questions for Dave? If not, Joe, I understand you're here now. You want to sit in the driver's seat?
I'm here. Thank you, Alan.
Okay.
I made it, got out of the county meeting. So we had 2 old business then.
Yes, and then the executive session that we discussed. There's actually the 2 pieces. to
Two
executive
of them. Okay. Is there anything for old business from anybody? Okay, not hearing anything. Then we have 2 different executive sessions.
And Joe, just for your information, we moved the approval of the MOU till after the executive session. So we would have that one piece of business after we're done.
Okay, thank you. So the first one, are we handling the appeal for the first executive session?
I believe so.
How much time do we need for that one? Any thoughts? 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
I think Dave and I had discussed via email about 15 minutes, perhaps.
I would concur with that.
Okay, let's see. And I don't know if Frank's on here. This executive session to handle the appeal would be under which heading for executive session?
When I talked with Alan, we talked about performance of a public employee, and I think we also talked about a potential litigation. What Alan, can you help me on that?
Yeah, well, for the appeal piece, I mean, it could be either, but we thought, that has some potential for litigation.
Okay, I recall now. Yes, I would say that's potential litigation. And I have the checkup sheet, which I'll complete.
And
okay, thank you.
And then the other piece would be
performance of a public employee.
Yeah, review of performance.
I concur. Thank you.
Do we probably have to separate those 2, Frank? Do the first one and then come out and then enter into the second one?
You don't have to, but if that works better for the discussion, then you can do that way.
Well, we wanted to come out and handle the MOU right after the.
You can do consecutive executive sessions. So if that works best for the board, then please do it that way.
Okay. Any thoughts from anybody on how they'd like to handle that? 2 separate or just?
Yeah. This Kurt, I think maybe I suggest it might be best to handle them together, since I believe Rachel has to kind of pull people in and out for exec sessions, and
right.
And maybe if we're in the exec session, we can just get them both done.
Okay, so we'll go. So we're looking at maybe 30 minutes total then. That works. We'll do that. So we'll have 2 executive sessions back to back. The first one is for potential litigation, and the second one will be for review the performance of a public employee. 15 minutes each, so for 30 minutes. So we'll give it a minute just for Rachel to get everything situated. So we'll start that at 11:10, and we'll go until 11:40.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Just let us know when everything's situated, Rachel, if you can.
Sorry, I moved Jerry to the waiting room. He was the only public, and I have paused the live stream. Do you guys need me in or out?
I don't know on that. Thoughts on Rachel in or out of the executive session?
I don't-
My, I mean, my thought is that in terms of performance, that probably should be out.
Okay. So out, Rachel, I guess, at this point.
So I'm going to make you the host, Joe, so that you can have controls. Do you know how to move me to the waiting room?
No, no, that's
Okay,
beyond
hold on
my,
one second. Let me make you host, and then let me see if I can kick myself out. Or I can actually, let me do this breakout room. Let me make sure everybody's in here. I'm actually going to just kick you guys to a breakout room, so I am not in there.
okay.
Okay, how do we let you know that we're done?
You guys can pop back out of the breakout room and just say if you need more time.
Okay.
And it automatically expires in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Rachel is right around the corner from me, so I can pop out and tell her.
Okay.
Although I'm not going to be in the second part of the executive session.
Right.
So you just have to click join.
Oh, okay. So we hit join now.
Yep, just select that you want to join Frank. And let's see, and Alan. There should be just a join button. There we go. Do you see that, Frank? There you go. Hey, Jerry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so it's just you and me chilling out here until...
I was like muted and listening to audio and like all kinds of stuff.
Is who booted?
What?
What did you say?
Oh, I'm like doing I'm multitasking. So I'm like
Oh.
listening to recorded audio dispatchers, and I was like listening to you talk, and so it was like talking at the same time. And so yeah. But yeah, I could hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. Sounds good.
I don't hear any like elevator music or any Jeopardy music, but you know.
I could try to find something. Yeah, it's getting wild. All right, I'm going to mute myself.
Me too. Bye.
welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back. Dave, we're out of executive session. And I guess at this point in time, no decisions were made. And I don't believe we have any decisions to make in open session as a result of executive session yet. So I'll check in with the board. Anything else from the board at this time?
I think there was one item, maybe, Joe, that we were going to postpone that one agenda item until the next meeting, I believe. That would,
Someone, yeah, good. Thanks, Kurt. Were we gonna
I'll
table
find
the MOU?
yes, yes. And I'd make a motion to that effect, that we postpone that decision until our next meeting.
I'd second that.
Okay, motion and second to postpone the MOU that was listed on the agenda into our next meeting. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Okay, motion to table that to the next meeting is passed. Anything else for the good of the order?
Alan, you're muted.
There,
Did you-
okay.
There you go.
I was just gonna ask Rachel if maybe there was a time that she could provide some training, Joe, for you and me on the little intricacies of Zoom, so that if we have to click on something, if we're running the meeting, we know what it is and where it is. So anyway, and then Rachel, can Joe sign everything at the end of the meeting? Do I need to come in?
I think it's totally up to you guys. Since Joe's part of the meeting, he can come sign if he needs to.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're good with that, I could sign, Alan, if you're okay with that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Thanks, everybody. We'll go ahead and adjourn.
Thanks.
Thank you.